Groshkov, founder of Relite, is with us today to talk about his DeFi project on Polkadot. Welcome, George. Before we get into the project, could you give our audience an introduction of yourself?
Hi, guys. First of all, Peter, thank you for having me. I'm George, CEO of Relite. My background is in product and business development. And for the last 4 years, been working heavily with blockchain startups. Before that, already in Bitcoin, quite a lot of time. So with these blockchain startups, I work as a consultant. And eventually in October 2020, with some of my colleagues, we decided to start Relite. So this is a small snippet about me.
Nice. So you have been helping other projects launch a platform and finally taking a step further to build this Relite. And could you tell us?
Exactly. Because before that, I worked in more like in a kind of corporate world, working with banks, telecoms, but there was no innovation there. So I just decided that it's time to move on. And I was been always there in the crypto scene and looking at projects, investing myself as well. And this is how I kind of moved from corporate world to the crypto world. And I can tell that it was one of my best decisions.
Yeah, blockchain is full of innovations ever since Bitcoin has been invented, and there's always something new. Yeah. And with Relite, our understanding is that it is a DeFi lending platform. Could you tell us, since it's been around for some time, even though it's still young, what do you see is the problems in this space, and how would Relite fix this?
Sure. So basically, there are three main problems, as I see it in the DeFi space, especially when it comes to lending. First one is liquidity defragmentation. What does it mean? It means that small pools are sitting on different chains, so there's no real flow between them. So essentially, there's a lack of the so-called interoperability. The second big problem I see is still high fees, high collateral, right? So this is, of course, because of Ethereum on one hand, but on the second part is that users are forced on high collateralization because this is how they create a safety net, but also how the pool structure and utilization is built. So that is not efficient as well. And then thirdly, we see like the bad UX. So if you consider like a novice users, if it's really hard for us as more like experienced crypto users to use DeFi lending, then I assume and I saw that novice users are struggling even more. So with Relite, we want to offer cross-chain liquidity. So solving the liquidity problem one. So users can move and use their native assets without any wrappers. And for that, we use the upcoming Polkadot stack. So with that Polkadot stack, we can also decrease dramatically the fees and also the speed. And also you can get like a more interesting pool utilization. And finally, we have like on board like really top-notch UX. So we know how to build products for mass consumers. So users will be guided along the journey. They will see a breakdown. What happens to fees? Why they pay that much fees? What happens to the collateral? What is the liquidation process? So those kind of terms will be also explained to the users, and they will have a much more seamless UX at the end of the day.
I agree with you that some DeFi protocol is not very intuitive to use, partly because I think blockchain is just hard enough to understand, and most people don't have the experience of taking out loans, and the concept of liquidation is very new to them. I see that Relite does have a final reserve pool. Could you elaborate more on this?
Yeah, so basically the reserve pool works as a safety module for the protocol itself. Essentially, when there's a sharp decline in the market, we don't liquidate immediately the position of the users. So we give it a bit of time, and then we use the reserve fund to partially capitalize that positions. So the user will have time to decide what to do next, and also it's not gonna liquidate immediately what is there on the collateral. And then the other part is that when there is enough funds in the reserve fund, then we can also give better fees for the users themselves, and of course brings a much more clarity and safety for the whole system. The reserve fund essentially will be done firstly with Relite tokens, so the government's tokens, and for that, of course, these people who stake the Relite tokens in the pools will get additional rewards from the revenue from the protocol. So there's an additional, of course, incentives for the users, not just to give like the safety, but also they will be incentivized to keep the Relite there and then eventually increase the reserve pool. So, and finally, the bigger the reserve pool, the better the terms and the safety the protocol it is.
And you mentioned that in the current DeFi lending platforms, we often see, or we always see, over collateralization. The ratio can be up to 180% or more. What is your target collateralization ratio on Relite, and how is it possible to say offer a lower ratio than your competitor? What's the trick?
There's no actual trick. It's about actually utilizing again the pools and how your interest is done. Like for instance, when the pool in Compound is utilized by 80%, the interest skyrockets because they have a tinted curve, right? For us, we're gonna use a much smoother curve, and that means that you will not, like, first of all, be obliged to pay so much interest against your loan. And on the other hand, of course, you'll have much more room for your collateral. So yes, people pay now like approximately, on average, I think about 160, 170% against their loan position, right? So we can get it up to 130, 120%, and even lower if needed. Of course, that's about the risk appetite of the user. And then it's also the loan to value ratio, right? So the ideal loan to value ratio will be about 95%, right? But this is very risky. In Compound at the moment and Aave, I think you can get like about 60 maybe to 70% loan to value. With our protocol, you can get like about 80 to 85%, and again, depending on how much the reserve pool and how the pools are utilized. But either way, there is actual math and our kind of unique sauce in that kind of math calculation, so that will bring much better terms for the users.
Sounds like you have some proprietary mathematics equations driving this platform. Could you tell us about your team and why do you think you have the right talents to tackle this problem?
Yeah, sure. When we talk about proprietary tech and analytics, of course, we need to talk about people who understand that. That's why we have people who done risk modeling and finance analyzing, data analysis for some credit companies in China and the US. And then we have compliance team very well enough who help us with analyzing with text sources the blockchain and give more like predictability. We have also top-notch UX guy Stan who worked in the US and with a lot of big clients, and myself who, of course, I've been experienced to quite a few platforms that really have a lot of traffic, a lot of usage, and how you actually make like a product that is understandable for the mass. So I think with that combination and our experience, we are a very well equipped team to do the job.
Let's talk about the project status. Looking at the roadmap, what has been achieved so far, and what are your next steps?
Sure. From the business side, we completed our private round. Really nice, oversubscribed. A lot of interest from big investors, from tier 1 to tier 2. Then, of course, we open our partnership program. So now we're working closely with several partners on board and in the Polkadot ecosystem. And of course, we'll have the IDO ready. So sometime beginning of May, probably we'll have the IDO for the public sale. From technical side, most of our smart contracts of the MVP are ready, and we also tested the Kusama versus Kovan bridge. So we actually managed to also move liquidity between the testnets of Polkadot and Ethereum, which is very awesome. So things are moving.
Could you tell us what is the Relite token used for? How does it integrate into your platform and ecosystem?
So essentially, Relite token is a governance token, right? So the idea here is that people can decide on fees, smart contract execution, what kind of terms for the pools, basically kind of steer the direction of the protocol. That's like the core value number one. Then Relite itself could be like a mechanism to stake it also in the Relite reserve pool, as mentioned previously in our conversation. So it brings you better fees, better co-authorization and safety for the protocol, but at the same time you get like rewards back. And then finally, for our LPs in Uniswap, of course, if you participate in Relite Ethereum pairs, Uniswap, you'll get also good incentivization. So yeah, for the long term and for the short term, I think it's good to hold Relite, and it also brings you an edge as well towards other, and also hedge against other tokens in the lending space.
The Polkadot system is building up very fast, and obviously the Relite project as well. Where do you see Relite in 2 years' time?
Yeah, as I told you, we want to be a top cross-chain lending platform, both for the ERC20 and the Polkadot ecosystem, serving as a center point for those kind of people who want to get loans and basically lend and borrow. And yeah, future is bright. We want to offer credit insurance, loan transferability, and maybe even to connect to real world assets. But yeah, really to be there as we believe cross-chain and interoperability is the future, and really to be there as top lending platform for that serve that market. And this is our ambition.
Well, thank you so much, George. Before we close, could you tell us how people should follow your project? Like, should they go visit website or Twitter? What's the best way to follow Relite?
Absolutely. So go to relite.finance. That's RELITE.finance. And follow us, of course, on Twitter. I can put the handles there afterwards. The call Relite Finance in Twitter. We have also on the website as well the Telegram group, so that you can join. Just click there and you can follow us there. Really exciting news coming up, so I'll be happy to share more information along the way.
And thank you so much, George. Good luck with your project.
Thank you so much, Peter, and thanks for having me, and looking forward.